Hey guys, welcome to another look back video over New Zealand's biggest gap year, where a few years ago Robin and I did 365 days of 365 experiences all across New Zealand. And on day 201 we visited a farm called Molia Farm based in Fairlie to do a special farm tour that they had there. But join me at the end of the video because we're going to go through an update about the tour as well as some questions and comments that you guys had from the first time that we published the video. So join me toward the end. This morning we are heading just outside the little town of Fairlie to Molia Farm, which is the place to get a farming experience and really see the real side of New Zealand. First up, we are meeting Stan, who is the resident farmer here at Molia Farm, as well as his seriously cute sheepdogs. This puppy right here is only 7 months old. And because this is a working farm, the first thing that we are gonna see today is a live demonstration of rounding the sheep. We head to this huge sheep field full of sheep where Stan is giving commands to the sheepdogs, which in turn are commanding the sheep to round up into small huddled groups. It's super interesting to watch, and this is a technique that has been used for hundreds of years. And in this day and age where technology seems to be in control of everything, it's super cool to see that techniques like this are still used.
Sheep farming here in New Zealand is a super important industry. It's actually the biggest farming industry in the country, with 6 sheep per person in the whole New Zealand. It's quite impressive to know that sheep could take over quite easily. It also really helps to put New Zealand in the map, as New Zealand is growing some of the best wool in the world. So some of your woolen suits or your woolen jumpers may be made out of New Zealand wool. I really love seeing Stan commanding the dogs. It's only with a few whistle or a few quick sentences like "way out" that he tells the dogs what to do, and it's really impressive to see how quickly they react, how quickly they run, and how quickly they round up the sheep. I did not expect it to be such a quick and easy peasy process. But under the scorching New Zealand sun, the dogs are getting tired really quickly and they need some shade and some water. But now that we have some sheep to shear, it's no problem for us to head back to the farm for the next part of our tour. And you guessed it, Stan is gonna take us toward the sheep shed. In the sheep shed, the most important section is the sheep shearing section, where most of the sheep are gonna come to get a new haircut. And Stan is gonna show us exactly how he does that.
Before the sheep shearing demonstration gets underway, Stan takes the time to explain a little bit about Molia Farm, which has been in his family for 3 generations. He talks about the principles of running an organic farm, as well as telling us a little bit more about the wool that he shears from the sheep, where it goes, who it's sold to, and how it is actually made into the clothing that we wear. While Stan usually has a team of shearers to shear the sheep, he's actually going to do it himself to demonstrate what that process is like. So he drags this huge sheep out of the pen in a way that makes it go completely lifeless. It doesn't even try to struggle, as he just gets this electric shearer and starts going super quickly and super efficiently shearing the wool close off its body. Stan reassures us that this doesn't hurt the sheep in any way, and in fact it looks pretty relaxed, like it's just getting a haircut. He makes it look super easy.
He's much better than I was. I'm really impressed by the huge amount of wool that Stan is getting out of this sheep. I did not really realize that there could be that much wool into only one sheep. As the sheep is finally going back into its pen and looking much smaller than all the other sheep, it's pretty interesting to hear Stan telling us what they are doing with the wool. Because they are New Zealand wool, they are super high quality, very good reputation, they actually go onto at least 50 different countries around the world. But there is heaps more to see around the farm. First up, before we ourselves get fed, we need to feed the animals. And there is an oversized calf that wants some milk, and there is a baby lamb which is begging for some milk as well. Every girl in the group is melting at the sight of this baby lamb, and they are all fighting to give it some milk, while I'm petting its mother. On the other side, Laura is trying to take a picture of the oversized calf, but the oversized calf is very curious about Laura's camera, so it's a bit of a funny situation. But it's time for us to head toward the kitchen because some yummy food is coming out of the oven. and just baked some delicious scones and a lot of yummy treats for us for what is called afternoon tea here. It's basically a snack in the middle of the afternoon and a great excuse to stuff ourselves. There is some sausage rolls, there is some scones, there is some cream, there is some jam, and we are helping ourselves and going to enjoy them in the beautiful garden at the back of their farmhouse.
Everyone is going nuts for how delicious Angie's food is. It's all homemade, it's super amazing, and she's not only made enough for seconds, but she's made enough for thirds. And she says that she doesn't want anyone to leave until it's all gone, so we are not complaining about that. And just as an extra treat, Angie is also preparing the traditional Kiwi dish, which is pavlova. Pavlova is a dessert that has been invented in New Zealand, and it's really good for summer because it's such a light and fluffy feel dessert with lots of fruit, lots of cream and meringue as well. And she even has her own dessert recipe book out, so you can make your pavlova at home. We definitely love it and we wish we could stay here forever, but we've actually got heaps more activities coming up in the next few days. So we're heading back to the Fairlie Holiday Park, which is a pretty witty holiday park actually. It's got a few fun features in there. But just to make this Kiwi day slightly more Kiwi, Robin and I decide to have ourselves a proper Kiwi barbecue. We're having New Zealand craft beer as well as burgers with a slice of beetroot in it because that is what a Kiwi burger entails, and having a nice relaxing evening before getting on the road again tomorrow to do some penguin spotting. Stan gets hold of the shearers and starts going... Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Now just an update about this tour. So as we were actually visiting Morlea Farm, they were already considering, the owners of the farm were considering moving to Lake Tekapo to start up a farm tour business there instead of Fairlie. So the couple have actually moved to Lake Tekapo now, and the farm tour that we experienced here are only rarely experienced for selected bus tour companies. So it's not like you can basically no longer visit the farm as part of just like, you know, being part as a tour or a tourist that's not part of a special tour group. So just bear that in mind, that this tour is no longer available in Fairlie, but there are now new farm tours in Lake Tekapo, which I assume are from the same people, but maybe not 100%. It's called Lake Tekapo Farm Tours, and that is something that you can experience in Lake Tekapo, and that involves, you know, feeding the animals, seeing different farm animals, and getting the sort of high country New Zealand farm experience. So that's an alternative to this tour that is no longer running in Fairlie. Now just a few questions and comments that you guys had. For instance, we have Cloudy7 saying, "Hi Robin and Laura, what are the farm tours that are available? We are thinking of doing the TSS Earnslaw Cruise and Walter Peak Farm Tour, but the timing didn't seem to fit in with the itinerary. Need your advice on this, thanks." Okay, so the TSS Earnslaw and Walter Peak Farm Tour, that is based in Queenstown, and you actually have to take a historic steamship from the shores of Queenstown and sail across Lake Wakatipu to get to this high country farm and then have a farm tour experience there. So it is quite a time consuming thing, so I can see how it doesn't really fit in with everyone's itinerary. Now I did just mention that there is a farm tour in Lake Tekapo, which is a short drive from Fairlie and on the main road between Queenstown and Christchurch, if that's sort of the route that you're taking down the South Island. So that could be another alternative that would be much quicker to do. Alternatively, in the North Island, there's Agrodome in Rotorua, which is probably the most famous farm park experience in New Zealand. But then there are some smaller farm parks all across the country, really. Some to name are the Bullsworth Farm, which is in the Karangahaki Gorge, which is between Paeroa and Waihi. That's in the North Island. Also, there's the Warkworth Farm Tour, which is just north of Auckland, for instance. But there are lots of small farm parks and a lot of animal sort of feeding farm parks as well. For instance, in Hanma Springs and Whitianga. And they're more of a sort of family sort of attraction, and usually a lot cheaper than sort of a large farm tour like Walter Peak, for instance. So you do have lots of options around New Zealand, and if you want to find out more options, you can head over to nzpocketguide.com, where we have a lot more information about all the different farm parks in New Zealand. And we have lots of comments about how cute all the sheep are. Elizabeth saying, wow, that's a lot of sheep. Yasha saying, so cute, the sheep and the lambs. Yasha says pavlova was a German recipe. So now we've got the Kiwis claiming that pavlova is a Kiwi recipe, Australians claiming it's an Australian recipe, and now the Germans are in on it too. Who knows where pavlova originated from? But New Zealand is adamant that it originated in New Zealand. And yeah, that is, and then we've got some questions about the update to the Molia farm now no longer existing in Fairlie. So yeah, just to make sure that's really clear, it's no longer available in Fairlie, the tour that we just did. So yeah, that's how things change, and that's why we always need to do these update videos to show you that, you know, things are always changing in the tourism industry of New Zealand. Alright guys, if you have any more comments or questions of your own, you can put them in the comment section below, or join us during one of our live sessions, which we do every single Sunday at 8 AM New Zealand time. Make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell for a notification from when we go live. Alright guys, I will see you in the next video.